Do you know the difference between a Sasquatch and a Yeti? Can you tell an urban legend from a cautionary tale? Follow us down the rabbit hole to find out.
We love all things cryptic, conspiracy theory, or unexplained, and the truly horrifying our own bloody history. Join us for monsters and murders, and probably a tangent or two.
All that and more on Castles and Cryptids, a comedy podcast brought to you by a couple of Canadian chicks, Alana
And Kelsey.
Sasquatch repellent not included.
This podcast contains strong language and adult situations and may not be suitable for those who are easily offended.
Welcome to Fuck My Work Life's Afternoon Break, a quick getaway from your daily grind. Step away from whatever you're doing, grab your favorite beverage, put your feet up, and enjoy. Welcome back, fuckers. I'm Kay.
I'm Jay.
And we've got another special guest with us today for our Afternoon Break series. Today we have the producer of the Universe25 podcast, Mr. John Badger. How are you today?
What up, fuckers?
What's up, man?
Thank you for joining us.
It's my absolute pleasure to be with you guys. How are you doing?
We're okay.
Yeah, we're good.
This is a Monday, so you know how Mondays normally go.
Yes. Yes, I do.
So why don't you tell everyone a little bit about what you do with the Universe25 podcast?
So Universe25 is a little bit different than most podcasts in that it's an audio drama. So it's like a movie for your ears, right? Or a TV show for your ears. So you get like 30-minute episodes. And season 1 is 8 episodes with a bonus episode. But really the premise is that a couple friends go into a cave, and then they find this artifact from 1,000 years prior, which is actually our present day since it is 1,000 years in the future. But they look at certain things as from the past, which is our present, trying not to make it too confusing or meta.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
But looking at it in hindsight and being like, oh yeah, that was a stupid idea, and being able to look at it in a scope that you don't look at right now because it's like this is now.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting concept, I think, and we got a lot of support from that, and a lot of people are excited about every episode that comes out. It's like on a weekly basis. But I also make Mercury Theater podcast, which is a monthly thing, but that's a totally different thing. Every episode is entirely different, so you never know what you're going to get. But yeah, that's what I do in a very small nutshell.
And that the Mercury one is also like an audio drama. It's just it's not an ongoing story.
Correct. Yeah. So I've had an episode with like the Prohibition era, and then you have like we call it space lesbians in space, and then pirates, and all of these different, like every episode is something entirely different. So what's going to come up next month? I don't know. We'll find out.
So do you have like a crew of voice actors that you just kind of give scripts to and they just go for it?
Yeah. So I met all of my people for Mercury Theater podcast on a website specifically for casting voice actors. Mm-hmm. And then it's like a group of like 55 people, and I'll just let everybody know, hey, there's an episode coming up in a couple of days that we want to record. If you're available, let us know. And then they like let me know, and then I'm like, okay, perfect. And then I might tweak the episode depending on whether it's like a girl or boy or whatever, and that way it doesn't get too confusing, you know. Yeah. It'd be weird if some person's name was Nicholas and they have a female voice, but you know that's a different genre.
Yeah. That sounds like fun.
It is
and
a
then
lot of fun.
You do all the editing and everything too, right?
Oh my gosh, yes.
That's a lot of work.
So I found out that the equation is about an hour to every minute worth of final product.
Oh, wow.
So if I'm doing a 30-minute episode, that's a 30-hour production. Yeah. But I've had Universe25, all the season was made all at pretty much one time. Like we had like 5 settings, and they came in and then they did their recording. So that one's done in person as opposed to Mercury Theater Podcast, but I digress. So the production of that was all in post-production for the most part, because it was only like 5 days of recording, and then all of it since has been in post-production. And I'm still working on the next week's episode and the next week after that, but I've been like working on a little bit of every episode at any given time.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun. I really, really like working with the voice actors. They are amazing, and I definitely don't deserve them. And it's really fantastic to be able to go into post-production and hear what was choppy, because they're reading a script and then they might have to redo a line because they flubbed a word or whatever. But in post-production, I take all those flubs out and I make it so it's one cohesive conversation, and then it just sounds really amazing. And then you add all the sound effects, all the music, all of these other elements that are really going to heighten that and make it a story, as opposed to people reading a script. But the people reading a script have to act that. It's not just reading a script. They're phenomenal acting. And it's such an exciting production for sure.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. So you reached out to us a little while ago because you said you've got some really good work stories to share.
Yeah. Well, I'll just jump right into it. So currently I distribute beer and wine in the area. I'm in Western North Carolina. Okay. And this place is beautiful, by the way. If everybody ever wants to go visit a place, Western North Carolina, beautiful. But I distribute beer and wine, and I drive a CDLA truck, so the semis.
Okay.
So the tractor and the trailer and everything. And I go from grocery store to convenience store to grocery store and just do that all day long. Well, all of my shift at least. And it's a fun and very stressful at times process. And it's just, so I tell you that, and like really, really my job description is I pull the pallets off and I have it checked in at grocery stores. And then if it's a convenience store, I go in, I drop off the stuff, I roll it in, and then I check it in, and then I go into the back and then stock everything, right? Sounds really exciting, I know. But I know that I'm an audio fiction, like an audio drama fiction writer and producer, but like this one day in particular just really, really stood out to me. I very nearly, 1, cried, and then 2, quit.
Oh, no.
And then I get back to the warehouse and they're like, we will never do that to you again. But here goes the Wednesday delivery, as I refer to it. So my Wednesday route is always different in that they might have me do my route and they might have me do somebody else's route. So somebody might have called out sick on Monday or Tuesday, and then we have to recover. So I end up having to go over to do this other person's route. And I work in the Asheville area, and Asheville, you know where the Biltmore is? Like that the Biltmore is the estate. If you've ever seen really, really fancy pictures of a castle-like building that's privately owned in the U.S., that's it. Anyway, so downtown Asheville is like a downtown area, but you're driving a semi through downtown and trying, one, to make sure that you're not hitting all the traffic lights and everything with the semi. But it's not my route, so I'm given this list, and I'm told, I go from store to store, and I don't know downtown Asheville. I don't know all of these different stores. So I'm trying to navigate at the same time as trying not to kill anybody. So, that's important. But I get through with the second convenience store, and then these pallets, they might be as tall as 7 feet tall, like of beer and everything. And there was this one pallet that had fallen over in the bag.
Oh no.
So it's supposed to be wrapped and everything and made sure that it's all secure. But it was frustrating, and I had to like push it back up. But now I've lost some of the product at the bottom, right? So now it's leaking and everything, but it's too far back. Like I can't do anything with it because it's behind other pallets. So I have to like try to like mess with that. And then I get to this, I'm going to this one store, and apparently they take a different route, but when you GPS this, it's not going based off of the truck route. It's going based off of, a car route.
Yeah.
And there's this weird place that's pretty fancy. It has these crosswalks all down this road, and it has all these dividers with curbs. And unfortunately, these curbs are right in the middle of the road and on the sides of the road. So I have to go around these things with my 48-foot trailer, and I'm hitting it on the left side. I'm hitting it on the right side. So I told you that there's a fallen pallet that had already fallen over. I got a second fallen pallet that happened.
No.
I get over to the last stop. And have you ever seen The Shining?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I open that trailer door, and it's like that flood from The Shining where it just like pours out. And I was like, what the fuck? I was so pissed.
Oh, no.
And that flood was all of wine, of course. So every bottle, I had to count every broken bottle and make sure that that was all accounted for, so that I took off all from their invoice. And then I get to do all the math and everything for all of that stuff. And so we wheeled everything in there, and I was given help at this point because they realized that I was already struggling for the day.
Yeah.
They gave me 2 helpers, but we wheeled in all of the beer and the wine, and then it's this the hand truck is standing up, and it has like 2 cases of wine on it. A woman hits it and knocks over that top case of wine, and then it just hits the floor. I lose everything that was in that case.
What did you hit it with? A car?
I think she just no. This was
It was
inside.
like in the store. Oh, okay.
Yeah, with the rug and everything. It's just amazing.
Jeez.
So we lost that case, but the straw that broke the camel's back was when we're putting everything up on the shelves. And those singles, like lines that you get from like your sodas or your beers or whatever, they're just in singles. Yeah. So I have this glass bottle of whatever beer it is, and I slide it down, and it zooms to the front, and then it hits the bottle in front of it, and they both shatter. And then one of my helpers is like, "Okay, come on, we're getting you out of here. Let's go." And I'm like welling up. I'm just so frustrated. I'm a new truck driver at this point, and everything is going wrong. And literally every single one of those things happened on the same day. And it was one of my first days alone. And they put me on this other route that I'm not accustomed to. Like all of these things that could have been avoided, and it all just fell down on me. And that was the worst day. And I didn't even tell anybody I was planning on quitting that day. I was just probably not going to show up the next morning. But when I get back to the warehouse, apparently the other guy had called the warehouse and told them what had gone on, and they said, "Yeah, we're never going to put you on a route that you don't belong on anymore. We're going to make sure that you're just on your route." And yeah, so that was a bad day. Now to add some additional bullshit, so there are these tall pallets of wine that I'll get every so often. They're like 5 cases tall. Now they're not just 5 cases that are fully sealed and everything. They're open cases that have all the bottles of wine and everything in it. So when you stack them, they have a tendency to be, they jostle around, right?
Mhm.
Because they just have no tops on them and they're just hitting that cardboard dividers in the middle. And if it's 5 cases tall and it's all wobbly, there are a couple of stores with the semis, they don't match up perfectly. So you have to put a ramp down in order for it to go up that ramp. But some of those ramps are an abrupt ramp. So it just like, if you do it wrong, you hit the ramp and then everything that's on this 5 case tall pallet, you see where this is going. It just falls over into my truck. And then now I've lost that order because now it's all in my truck and I pull out, I have to grab the store's mop and everything and clean all of that stuff up. And at any given time, anybody could be showing up. Like one of the other truck drivers trucks might pull in and then they need to take the dock. But yeah. And then there was that one time that I was hit by a car.
The car hit your semi?
So
or you were hit by a car?
The car hit the semi. So,
okay.
So I'm taking a left-hand turn and a woman's driving up at like 55 miles an hour on a 45, hits the rear corner of it from the side. Now she hits the rear corner, so you know that I obviously peeled out right in front of her, obviously.
Yeah.
Sure.
With my semi truck with a 48-foot trailer, which makes no sense whatsoever. But yeah, so decommissioned that day, and it's a stressful job. I didn't realize going into this that that's what I was signing up for. But there are days that it's a lot of fun. I like working on my own and being able to do all of the stuff. Once I figured out what it was that my expectations were for the days, and then I was able to get into it and listen to my podcasts. And I consume so many podcasts. It's amazing. I really, really like what I do on the days that I like what I do.
Yeah.
So that's really the worst day of probably employment.
Most people's lives.
Yeah. So what happens? So that pallet gets crushed. What happens like with the store's order? Does someone else have to come out and replace it? Or is it just like a loss for that day? Or
so that was one of the days that I did tell them, hey, I don't think it's working out. I think I'm just gonna like bring everything back and you guys can figure out what you're gonna do with it. But he's like, come back to the warehouse, let's see what we can do. And then they talked me out of quitting. They won't let me quit, and that's what happened. But no, so to answer your question, the wine gets removed from the invoice. And that day I just told them they're not getting any wine that day.
yeah.
Because I had so much, and then there's whatever wine bottles did survive, they're now wet and sticky because they had all the wine all over it. So now I have to take that back, and then it gets repurposed, gets like put back into their cases, and they go to the store eventually. But yeah, so it has to just get repicked at that point. But it's fortunately it doesn't come out of my pocket, especially when it's not my fault. Like because if they're not wrapping it tight enough, or the ramp fell, or all of these different things that could have happened, it's all put into the price of stuff that you buy. And there's loss involved with that. So it goes back into it.
And it's just local, right? You're just doing local deliveries. It's not like across the country.
Yeah, if it was across the country, I would never touch the freight. That would be a no touch situation. But I'm very, very hands-on with this, because we have to roll everything in, we have to count everything, we have to do all of that stuff. But yeah, it's an interesting process for sure. And again, I like it, but it has a tendency to be very stressful.
Yeah. Although I'm thinking about it, like maybe I should do that. I just listen to podcasts all day.
Yeah, you should do that. That's what you should do.
I don't handle stress well, so it probably wouldn't work out.
One of the reasons why I really like doing what I do is because it is local. It means that I go to the grocery stores. I do all of the wheeling in and of all of the stuff. You don't think that it's very physical, but it is incredibly physical. Like I've lost probably, I don't know, 10 pounds since I started working there. But with a lot of trucking, you get behind the wheel and then you don't get out from behind the wheel. You dock and then the people will unload it for you and then you drive away. And then that's essentially your day. But with mine, I go into work and I'm able to be home every day. And whenever I'm at home, I'm doing something with podcasting. I'm creating, I'm writing, I'm doing all of these other things that if I was on the road all the time, I wouldn't have been able to do. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I like doing this particular job, is because it is so physically requiring, demanding. Yeah.
I'd probably get boring sitting in, what do they call long haul truckers? It probably gets so boring just sitting, driving all day. At least you get like interaction with people at the different places you're delivering to and stuff.
Yeah,
so.
But not so much that you get, like, one of the worst things about employment is having to deal with people. Yeah. And like I worked in car sales, and that's a whole other episode by itself.
Mm-hmm.
But dealing with people, you realize that there are a lot of people who really are not enjoyable to be around. But if you're employed, you kind of have to. So with this job, I'm able to have an earbud in and listen to my podcast, and then I'll like stop my podcast to count all of this stuff for them. And then once they're good, then I just put that earbud back in. I do all the loading and everything. So I only talk to people probably like, I don't know, 10 times a day.
Yeah. That sounds nice.
It is nice. I actually recommend the job once people understand that it does have a tendency to be as incredibly stressful as, just don't put people on routes that don't belong to them.
Right. Yeah. Or if they're gonna, at least tell them the way to drive so you're not taking out curbs and stuff.
That would help. And wrap everything all the way to the bottom.
Yeah.
That's my most stressful day. What's your most stressful day? Have you talked about that?
Oh, geez. Every day? I don't know. I worked for In-N-Out Burger, which is a big fast food chain out here, and I was a trainer for them. And so when they would go and open up new stores, because they used to be pretty rare, they're not anymore. But when you open up a new one in a new area, it would be nonstop busy, 16 hours a day. So every day was really stressful because you're working like 12 to 13 hours a day, and it's just busy, like nonstop. But I was much younger then, so I had a lot of energy, so I could do that.
Yeah,
I couldn't do that now. Oh my gosh, I'd be dying. But that had a lot of stress. People with their food, like if it's not out in a reasonable amount of time, you got people screaming at you, and could be fun.
When I was selling cars, there were people who, when you're selling a car, people automatically assume that you're an asshole and that you're just trying to pull one over on them. And
you're not? No.
My goal is to help hook you up with what it is that you're looking for. But if you come out with a bad attitude, it's really hard to turn that around and be like, no, I'm actually a trustworthy guy. But then at that point, it's like, are you being a trustworthy guy because you have to be a trustworthy guy, or are you just generally a trustworthy guy? So that's try to make friends, but you can't do that.
You'll have to share some of those stories with us later. Want to hear some of the car sales stories?
Yeah, I bet those are fun.
Yeah. You also said you did culinary for a long time too, right?
I did. Yes. World. What a horrible experience.
We've had some chefs on, and it sounds stressful.
Yeah, I did that for the better part of 8 years, and I kept on jumping from job to job to job to job, and then I realized maybe it's not the jobs themselves, maybe it's me. And I realized I just didn't enjoy it. And it just, so I did a lot of jumping around, and in an ideal world, I would go into podcasting full time. That's the pie in the sky situation. But when in the meantime, I think that doing this job isn't the worst thing on earth to do. But working in the culinary field, especially now,
Oh, yeah.
what a horrible experience.
Yeah.
Fuck
Everyone's
that.
short-staffed. Everyone's angry all the time.
Yeah.
Like, no, thank you on that one. No, it sounds like you got a pretty good gig now for, you got your free time. You can listen to your podcasts. I think it sounds like a good deal.
Yeah. Well, if you want to get into trucking, I can hook you up.
I don't know about driving those big trucks. I could do it. I just don't know if I'd want to. I'd probably be taking out cars and stuff on the
You'd be taking out cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
It's definitely something to get accustomed to, knowing that you're like 6 inches from death on either side. Like 6 inches to the left, you're gonna hit somebody. 6 inches to the right, you're gonna fall into the great abyss. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll stick with what I'm doing for now.
For now.
Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your stories. Why don't you let everyone know where they can find your podcasts?
Well, it has been an absolute pleasure. But to find my podcasts, if you go on mercurytheaterpodcast.com, theater spelled either way, it's fine.
Okay.
Then you can find links to all of the shows. And I do have Universe25pod.com as well. But if you were to remember a site, mercurytheaterpodcast.com is the way to go. And then you can find all of my socials and everything, like Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and all of that stuff on there.
Perfect. And we'll link that in our show notes too, so everyone can find it easily. Just a click away. Yeah. Well, thanks again. We really appreciate you coming on.
J&K, it's been a pleasure.
Thanks, everyone. Go check out Mercury Theater Podcast and Universe25. Bye, fuckers.
Bye, fuckers.
Bye, fuckers.
Thank you for joining our afternoon break. If you have a workplace story, email it to fmwlpod@gmail.com or call our rant line at 310-818-3273.
Please follow or subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss out on new episodes. And if you're enjoying the show, take a moment to rate and review.
You can find us on all the socials at FMWLPod. Come say hello and check out all our amazing indie podcast friends. Until next time, bye, fuckers.
I don't know about you, but with a busy work schedule, I never have time to sit down and read. Luckily, there's Newsly. Newsly is an all-in-one audio super app for iOS and Android. It picks up articles about the most trending topics on the web and reads them to you in a natural human voice. For the first time ever, the entire web becomes listenable, all in one place. You can browse articles from topics you choose and just start playing. Follow specific topics from sports, tech, business, science, or Bitcoin. Newsly will find you the latest articles and read them aloud. They even have digital radio. And do you want to know the best part? They have podcasts. Explore trending podcasts from over 80 countries. And you can find our podcast, Fuck My Work Life, there too. Download and try Newsly for free by visiting www.newsly.me or clicking on the link in our show notes. And be sure to use promo code FWL for a 1-month free premium subscription. Stop scrolling and start listening with Newsly.